Hello, everyone. This is the Inner Voice Show, part of the Evolving Mind series in the Togetherness Media. I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine, a psychotherapist and the founder of the Awareness Integration Theory. This is a show about what matters most in our life, our minds, thoughts, feelings, actions, relationships, and our fulfillments in this beautiful journey of life. Today, I will share the tip of the week about how to live with connection to your body and connection to yourself. I will talk to you a little bit about Ask Me in the Ask Me segment. I will also share with you what happens to us when we emotionally react and the accountability of reacting that way. So connect with me through my social media and YouTube channel. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you. Here's the tip of the week. Have you ever felt disconnected and even at times dissociated? Most people's answer is yes, they have. Being disconnected can happen due to a lack of interest in a subject or a task, or actually a person. Usually when people get bored with the subject or lose interest in the topic, or if they don't agree with the subject or are not interested in debating it, they take their attention away. It could be due to preoccupation with a subject, another subject. If someone is problem solving, contemplating, or analyzing, they tend to put their attention and energy fully on their mental task. So while they're sitting at a dinner table with a family or watching a movie, a part of them is fully engaged in an internal process. Therefore, they're pretty much disconnected from their physical space. Others disconnect due to being overwhelmed by an emotional uncomfortableness with a situation. If there are conflicts they have to face, if they anticipate a fight, or any form of emotional uproar, they tend to shy away and disconnect. Some disconnect due to attempting to control their anger so that they don't lash out. Being physically and mentally tired will also create disconnection to preserve the small amount of energy that is left to handle their daily task. At times, one disconnects from one thing but is fully present to another. And at times, there's a need to disconnect from the outside world and just go within to recharge. Many use disconnection from a part of their body as a form of pain management. Dissociation, on the other hand, is disconnection from one's body and self, which usually appears during a trauma. When one has experienced utter powerlessness and helplessness, the anxiety of facing death, not being or being harmed, the pain in the body from it being abused, assaulted, raped, all of those forces the person to disconnect from their body and at times from themselves as they know it, from the self who they know themselves as. Some refuse to connect with their body after trauma. They end up also harming or abusing their body. Some even mutilate their own body parts to feel pain and remind themselves that this body is theirs. Dissociation is used as a coping mechanism to survive. As long as the person is still living in a situation where abuse and trauma are going on, dissociation helps the person to hold on to their ego strength and survive the situation. It's a way to prevent psychosis almost. However, continues as an automatic way of existing even when the person no longer lives under those conditions. The younger the person and the length of the time that one has endured a trauma determines the depth and severity of their dissociation. Healing the trauma is the key to coming back to the body and therefore connecting with the present moment fully. I've had the privilege of working 30 years with clients who have gone through trauma such as childhood, physical and emotional, mental, and sexual abuse. worked with veterans surviving the actual war, but not the one in their head. The worst domestic wars, which happens at home from your mate. It takes healing and integrating the dissociated parts of the self for a person to fully experience livelihood and fulfillment in their life. There are times that disconnection is necessary. The disconnection and the distinction of when it is useful to be utilized versus disconnection being a to-go-to coping mechanism automatically is important. To live an intentional life where you can be present, feel, experience life requires you to be in your body, to be present. Your presence, your attention, your interest, your willingness to be open and receive all information are all necessary components. You deserve to experience your life fully. You only get one life. Experience every moment of it fully. This is why you're alive and here on earth. For more observational and integrational skills to become fully present and whole, get my book, Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want. Thank you for listening. In the Ask Me segment, anyone who had watched the Oscars last night or haven't watched it, but just been bombarded with the conversation of Will Smith getting upset with Chris Rock making a comedy joke. He was a comedian, so he made a joke about Will Smith's wife. The way her appearance was, or it seemed like at the time that he was stating the joke, that the audience were all laughing and nobody really thought of it as that Chris Rock was being inappropriate. Even Will Smith at the time, as you see it, he's laughing at it because he doesn't feel like this is really harsh. However, his wife was taken back and felt hurt by that comment. And then Will Smith got up in public, walked in, smacked him, and used very offensive words, stating that take my wife's name out of your mouth. And although Chris Rock was a bit shocked about all of that, it seems like he continued doing what he needed to do at the stage. Afterward, Will Smith, in a very emotional, apologetic way, stated what was going on with him, what was his intention, and apologized to his peers who were sitting there for this act. So a lot of people have started to ask what was going on and how does that happen? And I think a lot of times when we're vulnerable, we act based on our emotions. And sometimes we're not looking at all of the other aspects of how it impacts. There was a lot of conversation about how can we be loving toward each other, and what are the things that we do in order to protect each other under the name of love, and then do we give ourselves the right to react because we're trying to really protect? Are there times that we're actually going to take anything that other people say and there's public humiliation, and do I just, in the name of being professional or being someone in the realm of public eye, and I just have to take it because other people are being humiliating or demeaning, and should I take it, or should I publicly also come back and humiliate them back? There are a lot of questions. Our social media is going haywire with all of the people who are taking different sides on this, and that's what we do as human beings. We take sides. I know that for me, as I was watching, what was happening was I was also feeling emotional and maybe looking at both sides and how hard this might be for both people and whomever is in this situation. So not necessarily talking about what was going on with them, because I don't know and I don't think anybody knows except who they are. But I know that when sometimes we are in the process of being in a power or think that it's okay or as part of our game or as part of our conversation, and I know that being a comedian, being an actor, being someone, a lot of times, even CEOs in meetings, people who all have a space where they can show themselves, sometimes they're not necessarily looking at the impact of their words or the comedy that has, or the power that shows up with their words. It becomes more important, the possibility of the impact that might have for other people. So there's an angle to really watch for any of us who are in any position, who have the ability to have listeners, whether we are in social media or we are in the eye of the public, or even if you are in a meeting at work, or even if you were a parent at your dinner table with your children. I think it's important to extend this type of understanding and responsibility and accountability, that whatever shows up and comes out of my mouth is going to have an impact. And I can choose the impact. And although I might want to have some power or some laugh or some attention, who's getting hurt in here? And it might be that it's important for me to look at the relationship that is going to get created by me stating something. And then on the other hand, can I also have a reaction and then justify it just because I was upset or trying to protect a loved one? Can I go and justify act of violence and say, well, I was protecting someone? So again, if I need to protect someone, if I need to take a stand for myself or anyone, is there another way of doing it which would be more appropriate than the act of violence? So those are the responsibility and accountability of the way that we behave toward the world and the impact. I love the way that Will Smith tried to clean up and bring himself into showing us his vulnerable part, talking about him being overwhelmed. And I think for any of us, when we do something that maybe we're not that proud of, for whatever reason we've done, the beauty is to be able to clear it, to be able to share what was going on with us, because we all can be in a vulnerable time, and we can all come from a place of reacting from one side of us, and at that moment not looking at all the other angles. So coming clean and taking responsibility and accountability for what we've done, there's a beauty in that. And I think that everyone who's watching, when we see the vulnerability of people in front of us, and especially people who have been in our lives in different ways, that the element of forgiveness shows up for us, the element of empathy shows up for us. I think we've all been there, one side or another. We've all somehow have ever experienced, it's just like Chris Rock saying something that maybe we really weren't intending to harm, but it did harm someone, and we got a consequence for it. We've all been in a place of, a time that we've been humiliated because we're just sitting there minding our own business, and somebody suddenly says something that humiliates us publicly, and we feel hurt. We've all sometimes been in a place that we've acted in a particular way, whether it was violent or inappropriate for a setting, because we were coming from an emotional space. And then we also had to pay the consequence. And I think if every one of us looks at how this is so real and any of our experiences, maybe we could hold compassion for everyone involved and look at the ways that we can be actually going towards the loving of self and others, and coming not from a violent place. And even if we're taking a stand for ourselves, take the stance from power and not reaction. Thank you.
Togetherness Media. Togethernessmedia.com.